from Facebook Live. Today is the 22nd webinar of Nepal Council of Arbitration that we are holding it regularly every month. And today is 15 March 2025. And as per Nepali calendar, it's the 2nd Chaitra 2081. So today's speaker is Mian Siraj Javed, who is a barrister at UK English Chamber, UK Chamber, and he's chair of Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, Pakistan branch. And this CIARB, Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, was founded in 1915, and it has received Royal Charter in 1979 and registered as a charity in 1990. And I think it has more than 40 branches globally. So it is one of the leading arbitrators institute. And with the kind help of Mr. Siraj, we could link with this institute through him. So he is so kind of that he provided his time, and he agreed to make some presentation for Nepal, particularly for our Nepali prospective arbitrators as well as the arbitrators. So first of all, I would like to welcome Mr. Siraj in this webinar. And today's topic is Building Your Career Pathway in International Arbitration, a comprehensive overview. So it is very timely and a very pertinent topic for particularly, again, I'm mentioning this to know about the global arbitration environment and the global requirement to be arbitrator or to work in the alternative dispute resolution field. So you will shed light on this thing, I think, and during question answer session also we could discuss on all these aspects. And to very briefly, I will introduce about Mr. Siraj Javed. He is civil engineer by profession as well as he is a barrister, as I already told, in UK. Practicing barrister, please mute your microphone. And he is barrister in Pakistan, the UK, Dubai International Financial Center, Singapore International Commercial Court, the Astana International Financial Center. So he is associating with all this type of thing. So I think with this, I would like to give this platform to Siraj. He will make, as usual, about presentation of about 45 minutes. And if it requires, and if he thinks it is to be extended, so it may go up to 1 hour, 60 minutes presentation. And then about 30 minutes, we will have the discussions with any remarks or question and answers. So Javed sir, you are highly welcome in this platform, and the platform is yours, sir.
So thank you so very much. Good morning, everyone, and namaste. I think for those who know me now in Nepal, they very well know that Nepal is somehow really very close to my heart. It's been a couple of years that I have been frequently coming down to visit Kathmandu, and it was for the very first time when I landed at Kathmandu, I realized with my eyes that uh, how I see is and the terminology which was coined by Dr. Adhikari, the arbitration tourism or the tourism arbitration. And I think that was something which I also dreamed of. And I'm really kind to Dr. Adhikari that he has been facilitating me throughout with these endeavors, and especially the people. So before I go down straight into the into the presentation, there are a couple of things which I think are really important in terms of understanding of what I am seeing in terms of what we can achieve as Nepal. So the world is at the moment. So the world at the moment is. My voice is echoing. I think somebody has its mic on. If you can please, and let me have this. I just need a second to bring my presentation on here. Is my screen visible, sir, here?
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
So
it
what
is
I'm saying
visible.
about Nepal, there are a few things which I think are really important for me to pitch down before I jump into the presentation. The world is changing very drastically, and we have been hearing all this. That globalization is coming in, the and in terms of how these our own countries, especially in the South Asian region, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Nepal, if we talk about them, the number of companies which were being formed probably in 1980 per month or per year, and the number of companies which are being incorporated in these countries per month, if you compare them, they have grown exponentially. The construction contracts, they have grown exponentially. And I think it's not just about the national infrastructure. We are now talking about international infrastructures. For example, the China came up with the idea of developing road, like the economic routes. For example, in Pakistan, they are building the China-Pakistan economic corridor, and they are connecting 62 different countries. And then we also hear about the sea routes and the air routes. So there are a number of developments besides these hydropower projects and energy and power projects, and all these exponential growth in terms of business. We see that this is not just possible, to go to the court and get those matters settled, because you cannot choose a judge. And the matters are so complicated that you need to choose a person who is highly skilled in whatever they are about to start. For example, for a very complicated infrastructure project, I would like to opt somebody who has that infrastructure background. And the same goes on with the hydropower and other things. And then at the same time, initially it was thought that these Englishmen, they are more fair, they're more transparent, and they are, since England is considered to be the mother of our laws, so they understand that law more than anybody else. And this was the brand for up until 20, I think 2005. But then all of a sudden, Singapore came in, and something really strange happened, that after 100 years, the Singaporeans, they snatched the title of most favorite seat of arbitration from England in 2020. At the moment when we speak in 2025, England is not the most favorite seat of arbitration in the world. It's Singapore. Singapore is making 80 billion US dollars from the what now we call it the dispute resolution export services. The way we do IT export, they are doing dispute resolution export. Everybody is going to Singapore now. It's not the Singaporean parties, it's people like us from around the globe. And they're also fair, and they're not just fair, they are equally competent. They have produced some really good jurisprudence. But then the world didn't stop there. All of a sudden, we realized that we have got now the Dubai International Arbitration Center, who are equally transparent and fair, and they are also producing good judgments in terms of jurisprudence. And then Qatar came in. Now, Hong Kong is there. Even in Delhi, I think the Delhi Arbitration Center have started to pick up the reputation of being most fair and most transparent. But then when I came to Kathmandu, I wanted to give that overview, because then I realized when I was in Kathmandu, the people of Nepal, they are, I think, the most neutral in that whole area. You have no conflicts, right, left, and center with anyone whatsoever, and it's a very tourist friendly jurisdiction. And I see no such problem in this place, in this part of the world, that you can that stops you in becoming one of the most favored seat of arbitration of the region. And there the whole journey started when I offered the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators to be there in Nepal, because the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators is the powerhouse of of trainings, and the Chartered Institute is also one of the mandatory requirements to enter into the international arbitration industry. I'll give you the overview in a minute. I'll be talking about how you can actually build your career pathway, not for the domestic arbitration, but I'm more concerned about the international stuff. And I know most of the people who are connected to NEPCA, you have got one of the best pool of engineers probably in the region who are into construction adjudication, construction arbitration, which is also something which was appealing for me, because I used to say I'm a barrister from profession, but I'm still engineer by heart. I started my career as a civil engineer. Um, I don't want to go deep into the what is arbitration, but just to give an idea of like arbitration is when we it's the most closest system that is fairly close to the litigation system, where where two parties, they present their documents, pleading is given before a tribunal, whether it's a sole arbitrator or three-member tribunal, and then in the same way we gather the evidence. Evidence is presented before the tribunal, then there's a hearing date, and eventually we issue or we render an award. And that award is actually something which is in international arbitration is way more powerful than the award which is being issued by the in during a domestic arbitration. And what is the difference in that? Um, for a domestic award, the award can only be enforced in that specific jurisdiction only. An award which has been issued as a domestic arbitration award in Nepal can only be enforced in Nepal. But if the same award issued in Nepal is termed as an international arbitration award, compliant to the New York Convention, then staggeringly, that award can be executed in 171 countries of the world. So why is that so? And then enforcement in more than one country, the award which has been rendered in Nepal can actually be enforced in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, not just the South Asian or the SAARC region, but also in England, in US, in other parts of the world. How that can be? So in that term, uh, this arbitration has become really the go-to thing for people to opt for international arbitrations, because it is a big facility that if I've got an award and against the government of Nepal, which was rendered in some other part of the world, and if I come down to Nepal and the government of Nepal says, sorry, we are not going to enforce this award, this is against our public policy, for whatever reason. But then that same award can be taken up in England. And if we have got any property, the Nepali government's property, there are multiple examples in that actually developed this whole idea of jurisprudence um, uh, where uh, like in terms of Pakistan, we have been losing a lot of fixed arbitrations, and these arbitrations, once you lose an arbitration and you've got an award, the arbitration then goes to the award then goes for enforcement. And if the Pakistani government is not willing to enforce, the Pakistani government have got, for example, a Rose Valley Hotel in New York. They can go to New York and they can file an enforcement, and they can say that please attach this property, sell it, and give it to some of our money. There was a very famous award against government of Pakistan, which was a Ritudik case, very famous case, in which there was a $6 billion judgment, and government of Pakistan never had that $6 billion. And very um, uh, interestingly, that award was set aside by the English courts as a seat of arbitration. But before it was set aside, there was a big threat of that the $6 billion will now has to be paid, and they will go to New York. They will get that Rose Valley Hotel sold off, and then they can go to maybe in Kensington, and they've got in England, they've got some other properties, and they will keep on selling the assets around the globe. until they are able to execute, or to satisfy their award. So these are the ideas or the concepts which is actually developing that cross border elements where people they do want to have that international arbitration now. And because of that demand, because of that idea that your award is not just enforceable in one jurisdiction, it is actually enforceable in a number of jurisdictions. So I think international contracts, the only element or the only way that is available is international arbitration. In domestic cases, what we say is that arbitration is the first resort, or maybe the mediation is the first resort, or maybe negotiation is the first resort. And eventually, if mediation fails, we can go to adjudication. If that fails, we can go to arbitration. And if that fails, then we still have got the opportunity to go to the courts in terms of domestic arbitrations. But in international arbitration, that multi-tier dispute resolution clauses are also very important. But once the arbitration fails, if the arbitration has been consumed, we are not left with any other option, because there is no court of a specific country that can have the influence to decide matters, because one of the parties is not national party. For example, if Chinese are working in Nepal, what do you think? Can we actually bring those Chinese in the courts in Nepal? Or vice versa, if that Chinese wants to take the Nepali party in their court, in maybe in Guangzhou, uh, what are the optics? How will that look? And in China, they don't even allow the non-native Chinese to present as a lawyers in China. So that actually closes down the whole optics and the whole idea of providing the justice. And then in such scenarios, the only option available is is international arbitration. And that whole system started in 1958, when almost 35 or 36 countries, they sat down together in the United Nations, and they signed a convention which is very popularly known as the New York Convention. And that convention, that founded the layers for the international arbitration. That New York Convention says that all the countries who have signed this convention, the award issued by any of the country will be enforceable in any of the other signatory countries. Initially, it started with 36 countries. Now there are 172 countries, which is why if an award is being issued in any of the 172 countries, that award is enforceable in the remaining 171 countries. This 172nd country is considered to be the seat where you can challenge. But for enforcement, we have got 171 countries left. And then there is another thing, international arbitration. It is one of the most paying careers as a profession, as a professional, not just a legal professional. I think it's all of the professionals. When I was practicing as an advocate in Pakistan, I used to make maybe X amount of money. And I wanted to get some right of audience in England, or in New York. And eventually I was one of the lucky ones who got the full right of audience to practice in England. And all of a sudden, the money which I was making for the same amount of time, it was not X, it was X to the power X, maybe. And in a few years, I realized whatever the money I'm making in England as a barrister, that money is one part, but then the people who are into international arbitration, that even goes to X raised to power X raised to the power X. And that actually pulled me towards all this international arbitration proceedings. It will be mind blowing to hear um, uh, in international arbitration, for a very a touch and go to these big international arbitration centers, it can be around 1 million to 1.2 million dollars of fee, that or the cost that has to be paid by one of the parties, in terms of the cost of the arbitration center, and then the cost of the lawyers from one side and cost of the lawyers from other side, for very mediocre or very modest cases. So then, if this whole international arbitration industry is so lucrative, and how to enter into it. So there are a number of ways of how you can enter into the international arbitration and how to pick it up as a career. And the one of the best, or in term best, I mean, in terms of the most money making carriers can be to act as a counsel, as an international arbitration counsel, where you represent clients in arbitration proceedings. And then when we say it requires litigation arbitration experience at law firms, I think it should be a question rather than a line. Of course, you do need to have some other licenses as a solicitor in England and Wales, or attorney in New York. For those who are in their early careers, I do strongly recommend that you need to have another license, because that will actually develop your brand or your persona as an international attorney, as an international lawyer. And how I used to express that um, for an international party who's based in maybe Dubai, who do you think they are going to hire? Mia Shiraz Javed, advocate from Pakistan. Mia Shiraz Javed, a barrister in England and Wales. Mia Shiraz Javed, a solicitor in England and Wales. Or Mia Shiraz Javed, a New York attorney. And you can very well understand that the way this whole stuff works, who can be the best one in terms of what are the optics. And I'm the same person. I'm the same Shiraz. If I've got, and it's just that matter of that license that we have, which makes all that optics almost in a second. The branding goes different, the authenticity goes different. And this is why these attorneys, they charge hefty amounts of money for these companies like Freshfields, White and Case, Three Crowns, Wilmer Hall. They are one of the best in, and they do specifically international arbitration counsel work. Um, and this is the most money giving career in international arbitration at the moment. The number two is to start working as an arbitrator. So for engineers, I can understand that engineers are not lawyers. There are very few engineers who I've seen who have converted or done their LLB during that time. Hats off to them. I know it's really difficult, but those engineers who are into that stage where they have the supervisory role in their, or the executive role in their companies, they are now very well placed in a position where they can, or where they do contract drafting, contract negotiation, that all the commercial aspects is being done through them. It's not through lawyers. Which is why they become more attractive to sit as an arbitrator, because they have spent their whole life understanding the life cycle, and they understand what the problems are. For example, for a very complicated dam project, I know there are hydropower projects going on in Nepal. There are a few going on in Pakistan as well. So these hydropower projects, a lawyer is not really feasible to be appointed as an arbitrator who has never heard about what a spillway is, or how these dams are being created. How do we they do the process of desaltification and other such terminologies which are really alien for a lawyer. And which is why, and I think, I don't know whether most of you know that or not, but in international arbitration, engineers are the best arbitrators. It's not the lawyers, and especially in the construction industry, this is so relatively true that the arbitrators are predominantly engineers, or at least most they require that the arbitrator should possess the knowledge in construction. And understanding these in terms of whether you can be appointed as an arbitrator directly in international arbitration cases. Yes and no. In terms of international arbitration, any case which have got one of the parties, like the two parties are not from the same jurisdiction, it is an international arbitration. That's fine. Um, well, the party is going to have that confidence of appointing you directly into it, whether you have not undertaken any international arbitration case. Sometimes it's difficult, not sometime, it's really difficult unless you have an established career as a domestic arbitrator, which is why we say most of these international arbitration centers, they require you to have produced at least 5 awards. At least you understand what an arbitration process is in your own domestic in your domestic jurisdiction. That can be Nepali language, that's fine. But at least you now know how this whole system works. The domestic system can be different than the international arbitration practice, of course. The domestic arbitration practice in Pakistan, it's not so very different than the domestic arbitration practice in Nepal. And then become an arbitrator straight away, or shall we start acting as a tribunal secretary? Or how about pro bono appointments through institutional panels? Um, or maybe arbitration training programs like ICC, LCIA, CIR fellowship. And as far as that CIR fellowship is concerned, ICC does not help or does not provide you with a program that helps you with the award writing thing. And same is the case with LCIA. The ICC have got some really nice advanced arbitration academy programs for trained arbitrators who have been working in other arbitration centers, and they now want to do ICC arbitration. But CIR fellowship is technically you get the fellowship after passing an award writing exam, and that award writing is the most basic key. You need to have that skill set with you of how to write an enforceable award, and this is what the Chartered Institute does. And in order for somebody to to have that faith in you, if you don't have that experience, at least you need to have that specific skill set, that yes, I'm a fellow, I know how to write or produce an enforceable award, and I have been trained through the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, which is the gold standard in the world. um, and then you have got arbitration councils. You must be for those who are engineers, you must be dealing with these in-house arbitration lawyers of different construction companies when these cases comes to you and you're sitting as an arbitrator. um, so these they are you can have those corporate advisory roles. I know a lot of engineers who become really senior. They start acting as advisors to the companies, whether it can be claim advisors, contract advisor, or maybe the arbitration advisors. So that is also one of the elements. For example, Shell, ExxonMobil, Siemens, SoftBank, these people, the one who are into their in-house, they are in their in-house council. They have got much more understanding, because through day in day out, all these companies, they are using international arbitration as the most preferred form of dispute resolution. So what can be the strategic roadmap to start your career in international arbitration? And I think the very first, the line that I say, identify your niche, is the most important thing. And please, I reiterate, we are talking about international arbitration, so it's not just the initial stages or the initial timeline of your life. We are talking about senior professionals who have spent most of their life in a specific field, and now they are considered appropriate to act as an arbitrator. So by this time, you must have developed your skill set in the niche. But for those who are in their initial stages, they have to now think about, and this is what the golden question or the $1 million question is. When I was doing my LLB, or for example, if you're doing your doctorate, what specialization do you want to be in? I meet a lot of people who did their LLM in maritime laws, and they are not from Karachi. They are from Lahore, and in Lahore, we all know there is no such maritime stuff. Then why did you do the LLM in maritime? Because we never knew. We just wanted to do an LLM, and then you wasted this X much amount of money of your parents, that could have been actually properly invested in some specific niche, but you never knew about how to choose your niche. So that is very, very, very important, and something which I missed in my life. I started my career in international arbitration probably at the age of 33, 34. And I think if I had the right mentor at the age of 24, probably I would have saved another 10 years. So there are a number of people in the world who can provide you with the right mentorship, the right guidance of what sort of niche goes with your qualifications, with your taste, with what you are good at, number one. And then how to enter into these into the international arbitration fields. Um, and number two, what I say is, once you have identified, you have to invest in qualifications, and there are certain key certifications. Although I'm the chair of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, I am opening up, or we have been, the Chartered Institute has decided to open up, or to give an independent chapter, Nepal chapter, under the Pakistan branch of the Chartered Institute. But even if I was not the chair of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, the post nominals of CIARB, which is FCIARB, Fellow of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, where you can see right in front of my name. These post nominals actually, this is the badge, this is the understanding. People who understands this, they know I am a fellow and I know how to produce an enforceable award. There are there are three grades of the membership. It's associate level, membership level, and then fellow level. If you are an MCIR, if you see MCIR written in front of the name of people on LinkedIn, it means they have not undergone the professional training to produce an enforceable award, but they have learned every nook and corner of what international arbitration is, of how to start that international arbitration, and how to apply those different laws in terms of the law of the seat, the law of the contract, the rules that are applicable, and sometimes it's a different law on the arbitration agreement. And they have now learned, so you can actually rely on them, trust on them, that they are members of the Chartered Institute. They have been rigorously not just trained, but also it is a centralized assessment which the HQ in England, they undertake the assessments, and then they certify you. And it's quite a difficult thing to, to pass the fellowship exam unless you have not understood the right thing. So that these certifications are really important. And then once you've got that certification, you chose your niche, you've got somebody to guide you, you started getting those qualifications. If you are in the early stage, you started, you know, also thinking about how to get a new license in these jurisdictions. And it take a couple of years, maybe 2, 3, 4 years to, to get your qualification as a solicitor in England, or as a New York attorney. And then you start accepting the pro bono appointments, not just the appointment as an arbitrator, but there are number of other spots. For example, you start accepting to become a pro bono tribunal secretary in international arbitration, or an assistant to the tribunal, or one of the tribunal members. And there are some other small roles which you can play as in international arbitration, pro bono. But that pro bono stuff is also very important, because that is going to give you something, an experience, to be mentioned on your CV. And once these parties, and then it's the letter is that maybe you won't get your first appointment for 15 or 20 or 30 million dollar worth of a dispute, but you will be able to get your first appointment of a smaller dispute, maybe of $1 million or $1.5 million or $2 million, where the expensive arbitrators are not available. But since you are a fellow, you've got those requisite expertise, and you have also sat as a tribunal secretary in 1, 2, or 3 cases. At least now I can trust on you that you are in a position where you are not going to mess up with my award, because even if it is of $2 million, there is a specific amount of money I'm going to spend on the tribunal, number one, and I'm going to spend a specific amount of time to get that award, maybe 1.5 year. And after a year or 1.5 year, and after spending an X amount of money, you give me an award. And that award is not of that international quality, that when it is challenged before the court, because one party is going to be a winner, the other party is going to be a loser. The loser is, of course, going to, which will be the aggrieved party, is going to challenge that award. If your award is set aside, I am just not happy with you. I thought you are one of the best, and I want to get somebody whose award is being testified in the court, and it sustains the testification process. But your award couldn't pass the testification process. It is going to not just harm your credibility. So, which is why we need to instill those skills of what is an enforceable award. How my award is going to pass that testification process when I'm going to render the award or publish the award or issue the award. And then there are a few other elements, because in for a council work, I can come to you and say, Mr. Adhikari, thank you very much. You're chairman of NEPCA, and can you please appoint me as a counsel for any work? I can solicit for council work, but I just cannot solicit for the arbitration work. I just cannot come to NEPCA and say, I am one of the best arbitrators, and I am one of the most transparent arbitrators, and please appoint me as an arbitrator. No, sir, it works other way. Parties comes to you because of your credibility, because of your skill set, because of your qualifications, and they ask you, can you be can you act as an can you act as an arbitrator to settle the matter? So how will you come to me if you don't know me? And why will you know me? And how will you know me? So these are the questions which is all the part of this whole thing. Then we have to publish thought leadership pieces of my own niche. So if I am a construction arbitrator, I very frequently write things, and if I'm not writing them very formally, I can write down things on LinkedIn. And I think this LinkedIn is one of the best things of this 21st century. It's not Facebook, it's not Instagram. It's a very serious thing. We are talking about a profession which can brings you millions of dollar worth of fee, and for that, that LinkedIn is one of the best places where we can have our own pieces in terms of what we think about that specific dispute, about that specific element, about the general market trends, so that you can showcase your skill set. And then also, developing your professional network through conferences. International arbitration is more reference based, where you meet people again and again and again and again, and eventually you start, referring each other as international arbitrations. And the sixth one is which I also mentioned in the number four one, to develop a digital presence to attract opportunities, no matter in whichever age bracket you are. And it's the need of the hour. It's This is what it is, that we have to have a digital presence, and I'm not only talking about LinkedIn at the moment. And so we have to open up our mind and in how to get into that digital building that digital profile. So that's step one, identifying your niche. How will you identify your niche, and how will you choose the right mentor? For construction arbitration, FIDIC contracts, I know a lot of engineers in NEPCA. They are actually they are master in that FIDIC contracts. And FIDIC is the only international contract at the moment. If you are in England, they use JCT. There is NEC3. There are other contract, but FIDIC is the most adopted book international contracts. All the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor projects, which are worth more than $100 billion, they're all FIDIC contracts. And then energy and power arbitration. All these power projects, for example, in Pakistan, we have got something around 22 power producers, what we call IPPs, and all of them, they've got LCIA international arbitration clauses. And people who are from the electrical background or electrical engineers, or who know how to do the expert determination in these contracts, they can place themselves in that energy and power arbitration, oil and gas, renewables, regulatory issues. And then there's a new thing, IP and technology arbitration, which is now picking up, that patent, licensing, AI, blockchain. So this is for those who have started up their career, who understand that IT things. And then uh, the most rewarding investment arbitrations, ISDS, investor state dispute resolution thing, where we have got bilateral investment treaties, and then we've got exit cases. So you need to first choose your niche. Where exactly do you want to place yourself in? Are you more comfortable in construction arbitration? For example, I met a couple of people from NEPCA who are not engineers or not even lawyers, and I was so thoroughly impressed by them. I don't want to quote their name right now, but he's very famous in NEPCA as well. And then I was so thoroughly surprised that, sir, what are you doing here? You are a chartered accountant, and I see very less number of chartered accountants as arbitrators, and probably this places you very uniquely in the international arbitration field, because most of the people, they are either engineers or lawyers, but the chartered accountants can also be, can, and they are more needed, because for the tax disputes and for some other complicated investment disputes, a chartered accountant, they are more appropriately positioned as compared to a civil engineer or a lawyer. And then so once you have chosen your niche, how to choose the right mentor. So you can look up for senior arbitrators, and this is what we do. We've got a very famous mentor in Pakistan who is 84 years of age, and he still has got more than 70, 75 arbitration cases. And he is like, you just sitting with him for 15, 20 minutes, you get those vibes, you get those ideas of where do you want to go and what do you want to be. And in terms of choosing the right mentor, let me be a little candid. I used to say, if you are going to sit you're going to sit with four people who are not so intelligent. Maybe if I can get the liberty of calling them stupid. So what will you be after 1 year? And the answer is obvious. They are six now. Next year they'll be seven. But if you are going to start sitting with five, maybe millionaires, what are you going to be in 2 years? Of course, so that is the influence, that is the pressure of the peers that we get. So you need to choose your own clan. You need to have those people who are into that industry, and the right mentor. They can give you the ideas and the tips, and plus they will also provide you the opportunities via internships and tribunal secretary roles. And this is how things work. And I also push these senior members all the time, that it is your responsibility, it is our responsibility, that we keep developing the new generations. In terms of, it is on us, that since we have got these arbitration cases now, and we know we have spent a lot of time in reaching to this point, but now we also need to pick up a few people every year. It should not be just one, and start giving them the opportunity to sit in that arbitration proceedings while you are conducting the arbitration, and so that they can learn and they can understand. In terms of the certification, I talked quite briefly about what the CIARB fellowship can offer. Besides fellowship, the Chartered Institute, I mentioned about the ICC Advanced Arbitration Academy, but this is for practitioners who have already undertaken the arbitration appointments, and if they wish to go into the ICC arbitration. So ICC is one of the most spreaded arbitration centers of the world now. It's the International Chamber of Commerce. It was not their primary duty to set up an arbitration center, but since these bodies which are being, for example, the Chamber of Commerce, the local Chamber of Commerce, they start settling the disputes of the members of the Chamber of Commerce. So ICC, they started developing the dispute resolution centers somewhere starting in 1919, maybe. It's more than 100 years for them to be here. And now they have got one of the best arbitration centers. But of course, ICC is an administered arbitration service. And on top, not just administered, they also scrutinize the award. And scrutiny award, I will come onto it as well, that because of the scrutiny, the ICC awards becomes really difficult to set aside, because it's not the tribunal who is now producing the award, but it's also another set of 3, 4 people who are now looking into their award as well. So Then we have got HKIC tribunal secretary training and fellowship routes. Pro bono appointments, I mentioned what sort of pro bono appointments you can get. Um, and then publishing thought leadership pieces. Um, it is Pro bono work is crucial, which is fine. Um, in terms of publishing the articles, where to publish? You can publish on Kluwer, Exit Review, Journal of International Arbitration. Um, Besides LinkedIn, there are a number of other places. You must be having such journals in Nepal as well. So from local to regional to international, wherever you can, and you don't need to have what we call in my local language the sifarish. I don't know how do you say that in you don't need anyone, you don't need a connection to get your article published. You just have to write a good piece and send it to them. um, Building a network of through conferences and events, of course, like these the new trend which we see as the Paris Arbitration Week, or the Istanbul Arbitration Week, or Dubai Arbitration Week, London International Disputes Weekend. In Pakistan, we do Pakistan International Disputes Weekend, and Pakistan is like you don't need to have a visa. You can come down, get that visa, being one of the SAARC countries. And Pakistan is the host of the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor at the moment, and the Nepalese are also very close to the Chinese. And for these China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, they are all looking for neutral nationals, non-Pakistani, non-Chinese. And I think this is one of the best opportunities for the people from the seasoned people, the senior professionals, to just come down. And we This year's Pakistan International Disputes Weekend is going to take place on the 10th and 11th of October, Saturday and Sunday, and it will be a really great opportunity for you to get yourself introduced with these Chinese and Pakistani parties who are going to start looking for the neutral nationals. So these contracts are finishing in end of 2025, and then 25, 26, 27. These 3 years are all filled with international arbitration work. And presence on LinkedIn, there is no other way. I think LinkedIn is the number one platform where arbitrators and institutions, they scout talent. They find everybody is running around to find that talent. So my strong recommendation will be to be there on LinkedIn, start writing things, some serious stuff, and start building yourself up. Because if I am going to refer you to somebody, that somebody is going to will want to see you. They are going to write your name on Google, and they will try to find you on LinkedIn. So they should know what capabilities do you have. So in terms of mentorship, we have talked about it in detail. Um, I think I would want to finish early so that we can have question and answers from the dice. Dr. Adhikari, please let me know if I can take the questions directly, or are you going to facilitate with this? You're on mute, sir.
Yeah, sorry. So, did you finish your presentation?
Yes, sir. I was given 45 minutes for this.
Yeah. So, if you have something to say, so you can extend it up to 10. So, maybe 5-10 minutes more. You can speak.
Thank you very much. So the idea is, since we are now developing the Nepal chapter for the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, and for those who don't know, I will strongly urge and recommend that do some sort of research in terms of online research about what the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators is and how it can benefit you. What we are doing in Nepal is we are about to start a training program for training in a batch of 15 for module one. So module one gives you, the name of module one is the practice and procedure of international arbitration, and this is where we train people about all the nitty-gritties of what international arbitration is, how to write a dispute resolution model clause, what model dispute resolution clause should be, what are pathological clauses, and we give you the whole sum knowledge that you can actually start representing parties in different parts of the world. But that module one gives you the MCIARBS status. Then there is module two. That module two is usually exempted for the lawyers because that is law of obligation. But for engineers, since if you want to get yourself plugged into this international arbitration field, you need to understand what the law of obligation is and how to, decide the matter between what was the responsibility and what were the roles. So in that regard, that's part two. And then part three, module three is the award writing exam. And it is highly recommended, very, very, very important, because you need to have that skill set of how to produce an enforceable award. And once you are done with that fellowship thing, you are now ready to enter into that market. And in terms of developing Nepal as a favored seat of arbitration, it's a three-step theory or a three-step plan which we have designed. I can only work on the lowest part, but I need people like Dr. Adhikari and other seniors to work on part two and part three. But my role will be to produce some good quality arbitrators who we can display before the world. When we are going to open up our shop, Kathmandu, as the seat of arbitration, the moment we are going to open up that shop, that Kathmandu as a favored seat of arbitration, we need to display the world that we have got some fine quality arbitrators in our shop. So those fine quality arbitrators, the only criteria is fellowship. So I need to have at least 20, 25 fellows from Nepal. That's part one. And in order to make Nepal as a favored seat of arbitration, that second layer is we need to have an arbitration center that caters for international arbitration. NEPCA is doing some wonderful work, um, and then NEPCA needs to upgrade itself for international arbitrations as well. And usually for international arbitrations, you don't have to provide your physical premises. Usually these international arbitrations, they are conducted in good hotels, and which is why I this whole idea popped into my head, because the hotels in Nepal, they are they're not so expensive. I don't usually like the word using cheap because we are not cheap, but we are way too less expensive in terms of Singapore, Dubai, and other parts of the world. For $100, you can get some really good hotels. And this is where this arbitration works, where people come and spend their and once they're there, they are using hotels, they're using boarding, lodging, and all that stuff. And if we are not that as expensive at other parts of the world, and if we are transparent, then we are in a really good position to attract all these people. So arbitration centers that can also be built. But then the third layer comes in. We also need to have a national act, not for domestic arbitration, but for international arbitration. And that act, that law, empowers a one member tribunal to begin with who supervises this arbitration process. And that one member tribunal of that court, of that supervisory court, they actually produces the jurisprudence, number one, and then they help the arbitration center and the tribunals and these arbitrators to come up with some enforceable awards. And once we are able to do that, so this act, a center, and maybe 20, 15 fellows, now we are in a position to open up our shop. When we open up our shop, we want to fill it with one of the best things, with all those gloomy lights. And this is what we have to do. And then we have to develop a comparison chart. Why should you go to Singapore, and why you should come to Nepal? Or why should you go to Dubai? And by developing these three, four elements, probably we are in a position that we can start attracting people on the basis of tourism, and then give them the presentation about arbitration. And we are talking about really big, big, big business, because if Singapore is making 80 billion US dollars, and if you are able to to have maybe 5% of that business, we are talking about $4 billion a year. And we can very well imagine how much that money contribute to our own national economy. So these are my 2 cents. But in terms of is international arbitration difficult? No, sir, nothing is difficult. I think the biggest example of the world. I am not native English. I was not born in England. I was born in Pakistan. I spent 12 years practicing as a normal, simple advocate of Pakistan. And then I started getting into my into my stuff, and we try to, to make our spaces in whatever element we can add up. But so these are the places. These are my 2 cents in whatever terms, whatever the questions are. I am more than happy to answer. Dr. Adhikari, up to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your very comprehensive and very informative presentation. And just you provided various information to open this shop. No, this shop is not a retailer or other type of shop, but it is becoming an arbitrator or pursuing career in the arbitration area. So arbitration. So it is knowledge selling type of thing. So it requires skills, as you rightly mentioned. And what I uh, found from your presentation is that the thing is the major thing that we need to cross break is the attitudinal barrier. No, so that uh, maybe all are competent enough for that competency to show that competency now need to break the attitudinal barrier, be competent, and definitely to be visible. No, the other part is that visibility is another part, so that the parties who will identify party knows that you are there. So but this is very good takeaway away for newcomers or prospective arbitrators, even for the domestic arbitrators who are doing domestic arbitration a lot, like me, probably. Now, what is the scenario and where is the international arbitration is now? So this is one very important part. And the other one is that if Nepal wishes to be a arbitration hub, at least for the region, as a neutral and fair country, so there is a lot of scope. And that scope requires three major things. One is the individual competent and credible arbitrators, pool of credible arbitrators. That is the essential basic requirement. In the absence of credible, trustworthy, and competent arbitrators, it cannot move forward. So this is the basic thing. So most of the young aspirants, they are required to be visible, and they are required to um, develop their strength, with this thing. So this is what I think you mentioned, and it is very important for us. The other one is arbitration center, like NEPCA has started doing this type of thing. So we started with uh, these webinars to make us visible and to interact with many people, from and to uh, provide a forum for discussions of various kind. And the other one is National Act for Arbitration. This is what we have started discussing in this light, that domestic arbitration part is there, that we are practicing. And now the time has come to have international arbitration provisions within the act, maybe the separate act, maybe, or the same act. So the government also need to understand this thing, that the tourism, arbitration tourism is possible in Nepal. So the, with this few the thing from your presentation, now I will go to the questions. And there is a question from Jafar Kalanauri from Pakistan. What he has, what his question is: can one be a panelist on international arbitrators as well as international mediators simultaneously? And what are the qualifications for that?
Well, yeah, of course, sir. You can be. I'm really glad Mr. Zafar Kalanori is one of the celebrity arbitrators in Pakistan, and he has been one of the most instrumental people in building up the in crafting the laws. I'm really grateful that you joined here. It's a pride for me. Thank you very much, sir. And of course, you can be empaneled as mediators, as an arbitrators anywhere. The qualification is a bit different. For to become a mediator, you need to be a 40-hour accredited mediator. You have to undergo that training. CEDAR is one of the topmost training centers. Chartered Institute is also an equivalent mediation training provider. And then we have got Singapore Mediation Center, and then some other which provide 40-hour accredited mediator training. But this something that you need to get that certification will give you or takes you up into that international mediation thing. And especially when we see after this Singapore convention where these international mediations are going to pick up, we need to have a pool. And I know NEPCA and other, there are a number of, I think there are more than 2,000 institutes in Nepal which are into mediations. And we are still lacking that ecosystem of mediation in Pakistan. But you can be empaneled as a mediator as well as an arbitrator. For an arbitrator, that fellowship is that criteria, or is that badge, or is the accredited qualification that you require. As if I give you the example, if you want to become if you want to empanel yourself with Singapore International Arbitration Center, SIAC, which is actually bringing $80 billion to the Singaporean economy. So everybody is running towards SIAC, because if you are empaneled as an arbitrator in Singapore International Arbitration Center, and if you are going to get one of the arbitrations to appoint it as an arbitrator, they will charge $50,000 to $100,000 for your appointment. Everybody wants to be there. But then you have to have, if you go to their website, they say you have to have the fellowship of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, not just any institute. It's specifically the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators. And then same goes with the KICA of Australia, and then Hong Kong Arbitration Center and Dubai Arbitration Center. So that is your qualification that you must have. And then 40-hour accredited mediator training if you want to do that international mediations. I hope I was able to answer your question, sir.
I think so. I think so. I think it is clear, Zafar. Okay. Now another question from Saru. Uh, Thank you, Mr. Siraj, for bringing that. This is here, and she has questions. Uh, Please suggest us how do we plug in.
Um, well, I
Well,
think in terms of plugging in, probably for people from Nepal, I've got a couple of students who got themselves cleared with module one. One is Anil Shastra. I think he's also connected to NEPCA. The other one was Nabeen Bhandari. But I think if the members of NEPCA wants to undergo the training, I'm more than happy to design and develop a specific program for NEPCA, for the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators. So if you are interested, please register your interest with NEPCA. Probably Dr. Adhikari will nominate someone from NEPCA who will take your interest. And once we have got 15 members from NEPCA, I'm more than happy to develop and design a specific course for you on subsidized rates. Um,
Thank you, sir. I think Dhruva Paudel, your question is same probably. I will read that, and if that is different and need a different address, then again, Mr. Siraj will take that. Thank you for your broad-based presentation, Siraj. Would you please share the prerequisite for an engineer to be part of your dream? How shall you scrutinize their caliber to be engaged in your team for the first time?
so I think, Doctor, there are two things. The first thing is there is no such prerequisite to undertake these arbitration courses. Even if you are not an engineer or a lawyer, bachelor's, uh, grade 10, grade 12, there is no such. The only criteria is you can understand in that English language, and you are able to write in that, because you have to write that the answers into it. So that whole medium of communication is English. That's it. The price for module one, for Pakistan, it's around the Pakistani, what I call is 2 lakh rupiah. And I know that rupiah is also the same currency in Nepal, but the Nepali currency is like is twice better than the Pakistani currency, fortunately. So it's for you, it's like 1 lakh rupiah, something like around $760, and which I believe is a big opportunity for you, because for Pakistan, because of the currency devaluation, we have to pay 2 lakh 12,000 rupees, it's like 212,000 rupees. So this is the money, and Pakistan branch decided not to charge any single money, any amount on top of it for Nepal, whatever the band D rates that we have developed for Pakistan, exactly that has been passed on to the Nepali brothers.
Thank you for this consideration also. So you already answered the Mahendra Gurung question also, so it is good. The same, he is asking about the module fee. Satyanarayan sir, you are there? Please unmute, please. Still,
Satya sir, we can't hear you. I think you need to probably log out, and now yeah, I think you didn't pick up the right audio settings.
yes. We are not hearing you, Satyanarayan sir. Still, it is a mute. Okay.
Am I
Yes.
audible?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
you're audible
Okay.
now, sir.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Seraz Mia, for very, very informative presentation. Well, some of the book, information I have already got on my query, but still, maybe some of our participants may be may wish to have such answer from you. Like you talked about fellowship.
Sir.
Can you please explain the eligibility criteria for fellowship?
Sir, to become a fellow so there are 3 routes to it. Route number 1, you do module 1, you do module 2, you do module 3, and after passing module 3, you become a fellow. So that's the most basic one. The second route is there is an accelerated route to fellowship. We call it ARF. For that ARF, we don't ask you to sit for module 1 or module 2. We just make you sit into that accelerated route to fellowship exam. It's a 3-day exam, and it's not a training course. It's an exam. You're confident that you know what module 1 is, how you will be tested, and the moment you'll be tested, and if you are able to, and you have to write the award as well as the, you have to answer the questions. As so it's a verbal, it's like 3-way test. You will be with us for 8 hours and 8 hours 2 days, and we'll ask you, we'll give you different prepositions. If this comes in, what are you going to do? If this comes in, what are you going to do? And at the end of the day, you have to write an award. If you pass that straight away, so we do run accelerated route to fellowship programs every year. This year, the accelerated route of fellowship program will be in June from the Pakistan branch, and the other one is going to be in December. And then we have got a third route, what we call it the experienced practitioner route, ERP. You don't have to undertake any exam, but the criteria is really, really, really tough, especially for countries like us. For experienced practitioner route, we have to demonstrate that we have produced between 5 to 10 awards, at least 5 awards. We don't mind if it is in Nepali language. I know most of the arbitrations are happening in the Nepalese language. If you have produced 5 awards, I need to have those 5 awards, but then I need to have their awards in translated in English. And plus there is an application, online application. You can have my contact details. I'm also putting up the details of the branch. You can contact the branch, Miss Farah Iman Arsalan. You can call her on WhatsApp. You can send her messages on WhatsApp. I will also give you the email address, and she will guide you with all these elements of how to to either to if you want to get yourself registered as for module 1, 2, 3, or you want to register for the ARF or any other thing. Um, And probably besides that, if there is any other question that you have in terms of the details for those modules or the date of the date of these next trainings, she will be more than happy to help.
So
Thank
thank
you
you, Siraj,
again,
again.
Mr. Seraj.
Again, the answer, the clarification is very, very clear. So the questions from Rupak Raj Bhandari ji, I think it is covered. Rupak Raj Bhandari, sir, you think you got the answer? Please, Rupak ji. So what was his question is, Mahendra Gurung, the different module 1, 2, and 3 of CIARB, what is mode of training? Is it online or in person?
So in Pakistan, we do conduct these both routes. Most of the people, they are not comfortable in online trainings. Initially, we conducted more face-to-face trainings, but we are now also giving the online trainings as well. The next session that is starting, probably it's starting in end of April, maybe. So if you are interested, you can join that. The people who from Nepal and from other parts of the world who have undergone that training, it's all online. And for Nepal, what we were planning to have a hybrid training program. I don't know the dates yet. There are certain logistical things. Probably I'll be speaking to NEPCA and some other friends who are working around with that. And we thought of because if you want to have a face-to-face training, this is going to add up the cost of the trainer to come down to Nepal. So we thought of having most of the sessions online and the last revision session in person, and where we can have the interaction and all that question answer things. But online is available, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Probably this may be the last question from Dr. Santaraj Sarma Neopane. What is the difference in fees between UK and Pakistan for this CIARB certification?
Can I have that question again, sir?
What is the difference in fees between
So
UK
there's
and
a
Pakistan?
there's quite a big difference in fee in UK and Pakistan, because UK comes in band A and Pakistan is in band D. And band A, B, C, D is what the World Bank have identified basis on the GDP, the capita income per person in these countries, and they have been kind in terms of. So if you do the same course from England, I think, for example, the fellowship, this module 1 is. We are charging almost the 60% of the fee. So you are getting a 40% discount. And we don't undertake the assessments. The branches are only authorized to deliver trainings. So the assessment will be undertaken by the HQ directly. And once you will finish and the way it is designed is these courses has to be designed as per their assessment dates, which is why we have got fixed dates, what we call the course diary of the year. So you can request for that course diary for the year. And for example, the next exam is going to take place in June, and we have to in July. So we have to finish the course before the July exams, and this is how we develop the course. And then in that July exam, it's a global exam. We have got 44 branches in the world. So from the members from all those 44 branches, they sit at one time online for that exam, which is undertaken by HQ. They take between 8 to 12 weeks to send down the results. And once you get the result, you become a member with the HQ. You don't become you although you are part of a certain branch, but the membership fee that you pay directly to the HQ.
Thank you, sir. There is another question from Wasim Raza from Pakistan. Thanks to Seiraj Saib and Dr. Adhikari Saib for arranging such an excellent session. My query to Honorable Seiraj Saib is, once we become FCIRB or CIARB, then how much is validity time for this certification? Do we need to again get ourselves certified?
So you don't have to certify yourself again, sir, but it's a membership. Like once you have passed the exam, that's fine. You're a fellow now, but you're not a fellow actually. You have passed the exam. In order to become a fellow, there is a peer review. One of the peers from the Chartered Institute, a fellow comes in, and they chit chat with you nowadays on Zoom, and they see that you are yes, you are good enough to be part of the fellows clan, what we call it, the club, the fellows club. And there is an annual membership fee which you pay to the Chartered Institute for those post nominals. Sometimes people say for fellowship they have not given any discount. The fee which has to be paid by the Englishmen or by the Americans, the same amount has to be paid by the people from Pakistan and probably from Nepal. And we have had long discussions with the HQ, and then they say, no, it's not about once you are a fellow. If you are paying like £500 is like it's £448 every year that you pay to the Chartered Institute, which sometimes feels really big. It feels big if you are not using your fellowship and acting as an international arbitrator. If you're not making money, £448 is can be a big cost. But when you start making money, just one arbitration a year, if you are charging $50,000, that arbitration is, you'll get that arbitration because of this fellowship. So this is the price of that, maybe getting that arbitration appointment. So for £48, I don't think it's something big of a money that but you need to get yourself. You have to be on that board throughout constantly.
Thank you, Sarah. Sir, I think this is the final questions for this presentation. Mahendra Gurung has just remarks, I think. I think NEPCA should take a lead role in making coordination to facilitate Nepali arbitrators into international arbitration. So thank you, Mahendra Gurung, sir, for your remarks. Definitely, NEPCA will have to think over all these issues. So we will do in our committee. So with this, I would like to thank Mr. Seraz for your very guiding presentation. This is not only the informative, now it has become a very guiding presentation, and it's very much inspiring. There are Pakistani participants also, they are also attending this presentation. So I think for both countries, aspiring persons, that your presentation provided a lot of information, as well as it guided us to identify the niche by themselves, by each prospective person who would like to be a part of this international arbitration proceedings and a community. It can be all. So choose the right mentor. This is another thing that I think becoming arbitrator sometimes is not easy. Making decisions many times is not easy. So for that many part, making various analyses and coming to the conclusion, there may be in time and again mentor is essential. And knowing only the local practices or domestic practices may not be enough. Equally guiding by the maybe precedents of different courts, and there is a much difference maybe in these Commonwealth countries and civil law countries. So the practice implementation of law is also not easy. So really in implementing or drafting the enforceable arbitration itself is a challenge. So these are the parts that you rightly pointed out during your presentation. And the other part is the qualification and certification. That is very important. Being qualified and being certified may be two different things. So along with qualification, the certification is needed to enter into the community. And the community, on what basis that community will trust the person, is maybe because of the certification that this credible institution has certified this person. So this person must be credible and we can trust that person. So these are the things that we can take away with this presentation. So thank you so much, Shiraz. We'll conclude this presentation over here. And if I think if you think that any other essential thing again can be just presented before this people, then we will be in touch, and we may have another presentation at your convenient time. So we will be in touch.
No, sir. Thank you so very much for having me. Namaste to everyone. And Nepal is really close, getting closer to my heart. I am available on LinkedIn for any queries that you want. I reply on LinkedIn very frequently. I've given you the branch numbers. I know it is just the first session where I try to, bombard you with all the details. But whatever your questions are, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or to the branch executive. They are at your service. They will provide you with all the requisite information that you need. And I hope to be there more frequently on the platform of NEPCA, inshallah.
Thank you, sir. With this all remarks, and again, thank you very much, and our staff who make this presentation, this webinar successful and effectively. We come to the conclusion. Have a good day. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.